Bird collected 54 points, 38 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Bro, this dude is doing NBA 2K created my player numbers. Y'all see these damn numbers? 54 points, 28 rebounds, 9 assists. Like, come on, bro. What is really going on? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Damo Love Sports, man, and we back again with another reaction video, man. And today we got Larry Bird back in office. We got AKA the Man in Green, AKA MJ Kryptonite, AKA the Bird with the Word. We got him back in this thing, man. We finna react to how a garbage man became an NBA legend. This is crazy work, man. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. If you love sports, this is the place for you. Make sure y'all smash that like button, man. Mike Tyson, that thing, 3-piece combo, that leg thigh, and that biscuit for your boy. It's free 99. It's free 99. You can't be free 99, so go ahead and smash that like button, man. But without further ado, let's get right into this Larry Bird. Yes, sir.
Larry was inches away from never achieving anything in basketball because back in the 70s, Bird was working as a garbage man in French Lick, Indiana, and he never wanted to become an NBA player. I thought I'd wind up being a construction worker, pouring concrete. As far as basketball goes, I just wanted to be the best player on my high school team. However, thanks to some luck and a coach who refused to give up on him along the way, the world was able to experience the basketball genius of Larry Bird. Bird would go on to become the best shooter of his era, an underrated defender, and one of the greatest rebounders ever at his position, all while being one of the best trash talkers in NBA history.
He just shook his head at me. He said, man, it's going to be a up night for you.
Pat Riley once said that if he had to choose a player to take a shot to save a game, he'd choose Michael Jordan. But if he had to choose a player to take a shot to save his life, he'd take Larry Bird. This is a story of how a garbage man became an NBA legend. Larry Bird was born in 1956 in West Baden, Indiana, a small town next to French Lick. That was a farming town of about 2,000 people. Larry was the fourth of 6 children, born into a poor family where his father Joe was a construction worker and his mother Georgia worked in a diner. Because his father's construction job wasn't stable, and because Joe was also an alcoholic, the Birds struggled to make ends meet. They lived in a small house, and during cold winters, their old furnace would often break down, leaving the family freezing. Due to financial difficulties, Larry would often be sent to live with his grandmother in French Lick, and being poor weighed on Larry a lot, and he always said that poverty was his biggest motivator in life.
As growing up, you don't realize that you don't have anything because you never had it in the first place. You know, making some money and looking back, I remember all of it, and I don't want to be like that again.
But his saving grace was playing sports. Sports was a big part of our lives every day. There was never a day we didn't do something, whether it was baseball, basketball, or football. His older brothers were pretty good basketball players, and they were the reason that Larry picked up the sport, and for his competitiveness on the court. Younger brothers often make the best ball players. Children who grow up chasing older siblings play up, and it's an advantage when they start playing against kids their own age.
Man, that is the biggest facts ever, bro. The younger brother, he gets to compete. Look at the Ball brothers for them example. LaMelo Ball, Lonzo Ball, and Jello. LaMelo is the best player out of all of them. It's because he always played with them while he was younger. So he had more time and he was developing earlier than his older brothers. You get what I'm saying? And it's also like the same thing in my situation. Like, I don't have an older brother, but at the same time, when I was with my dad and I was training and, you know what I'm saying, playing basketball every day, all day, I never played against people my age. I always played against adults. Always. Ever since I was able to be good enough to play, I always played against adults. I was always playing with people, against people older than me, every time. But that's how you get better. You get more advanced like that, playing against people older than you, because it's just an advantage. Because then once you play against people at your age, it's like, oh, this is too easy. Like, I'm out here going crazy. You think I'm going crazy, coach? They can't guard me. You feel me? That's how it be, though. It gets you right. Nah, let me stop playing, though. Let's get back into this, though.
Larry was about 13 years old, 6 feet, and 130 pounds when his father promised him $20 if he made the freshman team in high school. Back then, $20 to Larry was probably what $1 million is to him now, maybe even more. So he kept practicing really hard, and to his amazement, Larry realized he loved playing ball more than anything else in the world. I played when I was cold and my body was aching and I was so tired. I don't know why, I just kept playing and playing. I guess I always wanted to make the most out of it. And Larry did make the freshman team, albeit only as a bench warmer, since he only played in garbage time minutes. As a sophomore, he missed most of the year with an ankle injury, but that's when he got maybe the biggest life lesson from his father. I was 13 or 14 maybe, and my father came home with an ankle all black and blue and red. He needed me and my brother just to get his boot off, and he was in awful pain. But the next morning, we got the boot back on and he went to work. That really made an impression on me.
We don't know if he broke it or he just hurt it, but couldn't get his boot on. We had to help him get his boot on and go to work. So to me, it had been very easy to just say heck with it, but he knew he had to go.
Some 20 years later, many fans marveled at Larry's ability to play through all types of injuries, and it all stemmed from seeing his father going to work, despite being barely able to walk. And while he was nursing his own ankle injury, still on crutches, Larry was shooting in the driveway every day, hitting 200 shots before school. Once his foot healed toward the end of his sophomore year, the coach unexpectedly put him in the game, and that's when all his practice paid off.
Well, my confidence came from me shooting basketball by myself for hours upon hours. I mean, it's not, I didn't pick up a ball on a Saturday and decide I was going to score 40 a game. I mean, that preparation came way before that.
With a minute left in the game, Larry made the game-winning free throws, and for the first time ever, his name made the local paper. It was after that game that Bird started listening and applying everything his coach explained about basketball fundamentals, and Larry began practicing these skills to the point of obsession. When he returned for his junior season, Bird grew to 6'3", with refined dribbling skills and a knack for passing. Larry knew that senior teammate Steve Land would handle the scoring, and that he'd help his team the most by being a passer, falling in love with the feeling he received any time he made a pass that led to a bucket. But his coach realized that Bird was only trying to dish the ball, and threatened to glue him to the bench if he didn't start shooting. And Larry listened to him, becoming the second leading scorer on the team, averaging 16 points and 9 assists per game. At that point, Bird was a good high school player, but not a great one, as his junior season was the first year he played consistent minutes of organized basketball. So nobody could even imagine what would happen in Larry's senior year, when Bird transformed from a solid player to an absolute monster. A big part of that was his physical growth, because over the summer, Larry sprouted 4 inches, and at 6'7", he was now the tallest guy on the team, but also the best shooter, passer, and ball handler. Bird had also started weightlifting, and he came into his senior season at 185 pounds, 40 pounds up from his junior season. And
man, I can't even imagine being on a damn high school team. You go in there, you think you finna play this team, you see this 6'7" damn skyscraper, Larry Bird, walking the gym. You know he cold. It only make it worse that he's 6'7". We in high school. People don't see 6'7" at all, really. Bro, we are in high school. This dude walk in the building, he's 6'7". You looking at him like, man, what the hell going on? Y'all want us to go against him? Y'all already know we lost because who we got to match up against him? No damn body. Who gonna guard him? Nobody big enough. We some little ass kids. Man, this is crazy work, bro. 6'7" in high school, bro. People just be blessed with certain genes, bro. I don't, man, that's insane, man.
in his first game of the season, Larry dominated with 27 points, 21 rebounds, and 7 assists. In the third game of the season, he broke the school's single-game scoring record, knocking down 43 points in a loss. But after the game, Larry had an epiphany, realizing he could score anytime he wanted to. Later that year, Larry dropped 55 points with 24 rebounds and 5 assists against Corydon. And in his last home game of the regular season, Bird collected 54 points, 38 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Bro, this dude is doing NBA 2K created my player numbers. Y'all see these damn numbers? 54 points, 28 rebounds, 9 assists. Like, come on, bro. What is really going on? This is crazy, man.
And this was all without a three-point shot. For the season, Larry averaged 31 points, 21 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, after which he accepted a scholarship to play for the famous Indiana Hoosiers and the great Bobby Knight. However, after just 4 weeks at Indiana University, Bird was miserable. He didn't have any money, he missed his family, and felt alienated and overwhelmed by big crowds.
Financially, I couldn't stay.
Okay.
Reggie, I just couldn't do it.
So Larry returned home to French Lick, where he enrolled at a local community college. But he soon gave up on that too. And then he became a garbage man in French Lick and was happier than ever. I loved that job. It was outdoors, you were around your friends, picking up brush, cleaning up. I felt like I was really accomplishing something. How many times are you riding around your town and you say to yourself, why don't they fix that? Why don't they clean the streets up? And here, I had the chance to do that. I had the chance to make my community look better. And even though he lived a peaceful life, tossing garbage bags and fixing benches in the park, Larry's family life soon turned into a disaster. In 1975, when Bird was only 18 years old, his father committed suicide, and Larry was devastated.
He chose the way he wanted to die, and he did it. And it's just unfortunately that some people have problems like that. But you know, I wish he was here, but he's not. So I had to go on with my life and try to make the most of my life, just like the rest of my family has. And that's the way we dealt with it.
Joe Bird was divorced from Larry's mother at that point, with his PTSD and alcoholism as the main reason for their separation. Alimony payments and debts to creditors were mounting, and it was getting harder for Joe to find work. So he came to the conclusion that his family would be better served through life insurance money. Joe then called his ex-wife and told her she didn't need to worry about the debts anymore, and then he hung up and took his life. Growing up, Larry was best friends with his father. The two spent a lot of time together, and his death affected Larry deeply. Although he felt betrayed by his father's act, Larry once again respected his father's sacrifice for his loved ones, and that's the same attitude he always brought to the basketball court. During that period when he worked as a garbage man, Larry got married to a girl he'd known for years. But that marriage turned out to be a catastrophe. And just when they got divorced, he found out that his now ex-wife was pregnant, and she prohibited Larry from having anything to do with the baby. So, between 1975 and 1976, a still teenage Larry Bird quit 2 colleges, lost his dad, and suffered through a messy divorce. Who knows how his life would have turned out if he hadn't been recruited by Bill Hodges, then the assistant coach at Indiana State University. The young coach knew how good Bird was, and the two of them formed a relationship through Hodges' attempt to get Larry to play ball again. However, Larry was reluctant due to his failure at Indiana University, his job as a garbage man, and his complicated family situation. But Hodges was relentless, and one day he went to see Bird at his mother's house. Larry kept talking about a buddy of his who could really play ball, but nobody knew about him because he never went to college. To which Hodges replied, "Yeah, Larry, they're going to say that about you someday."
With Chevy Equinox EV, you get the tech you want with the best-in-class 17.7-inch.
"Yeah, Larry, they're going to say that about you someday." After that mic drop, Hodges got up and left without even saying goodbye. And 2 days later, he got a call from Larry, who decided to join Indiana State, which would change his life forever.
If Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart.
In his first season for the Sycamores, Larry, who is now 6'9", immediately proved that he was a basketball genius, averaging 33 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block in 28 games.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. You know, he's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody, which is fine. Still dominated.
During his second season at Indiana State, Bird averaged 30, 11, and 4. And was voted a consensus first-team All-American. Larry intended to return to Indiana State for his senior season, and the NBA rules at the time stated that players must spend 4 years in college to be eligible for the NBA draft. So in 1978, nobody in the NBA was thinking about Larry Bird, except for Red Auerbach, the general manager of the Boston Celtics. Auerbach didn't think that he could find a superstar in the 1978 draft, and he believed that Bird was going to be the first pick in '79, and that the Celtics wouldn't be able to get him then. However, because Bird enrolled at Indiana in 1974, but dropped out only a few weeks into his first semester, by technicality, he was eligible to get drafted. Still, drafting him was very risky, because Larry could re-enter the draft after his senior season, but Auerbach was willing to gamble, and with the 6th pick in the 1978 draft, the Celtics picked Bird, which was a shock to the rest of the NBA.
I just think that Red took a gamble because he had the 6th and the 8th pick that year. He wanted me, and why didn't he wait to the 8th pick? You know, why did he take me the 6th pick?
But what happened in the 1979 NCAA season was maybe even more shocking. Bird led the Sycamores to an undefeated season and made it all the way to the national championship against Michigan State and their star point guard, Magic Johnson. Indiana State won 33 games in a row leading to the finals, and Bird was especially inspired in the Final Four against the second-seeded DePaul, finishing the game with 35 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 16 for 19 from the field. However, in the national championship game, he ran into a better team. Michigan State was much more athletic, and they kept trapping Bird, forcing him to take tough shots. Magic and Michigan State won the title, beating Indiana State 75-64, with Larry hitting just 7 of 21 shots for 19 points. Due to the hype created by Bird and Magic, the 1979 NCAA Finals game achieved the highest ever television rating for a college basketball game, and with 35 million viewers, that record still stands today. However, after the college season ended, Bird still had a big decision to make, whether to stay with the Celtics or re-enter the draft. He first visited Boston on April 6, 1979, where he, Red Auerbach, and Larry's agent discussed Bird's contract. They finally settled on a $650,000 a year deal, which made Bird the highest-paid rookie ever. But Bird felt no pressure. If I fail, I fail. I failed classes before, I know the feeling. And when the season started, Larry did the furthest thing from failing. The Celtics went from a 29-53 record in 1979 to 61-21 in 1980, and the best record in the NBA.
And I think it took me probably 3 days after a rookie camp. I found out that, hey, this league is nothing. I can play in this league and I will dominate in this league.
With averages of 21.3 points, 10.4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.7 steals per game for the season, Larry was selected to the All-Star team, made the first team All-NBA, finished fourth in MVP voting, and won Rookie of the Year over Magic Johnson. But in the Eastern Conference Finals, Julius Erving's 76ers proved to be too tough, and the Sixers spoiled a championship meeting between Bird and Magic. And then, in the 1981 season, it was Magic who failed to reach the finals against Bird. With the addition of Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, who came in a trade dubbed the Steal of the Century, the Celtics assembled arguably the greatest front court in NBA history.
The one thing that we did my second year, we picked up Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. Now, we didn't know how they was going to fit in, but they fit in very nicely. And
Boston won 62 games in the regular season. Bird finished runner-up for the MVP behind Dr. J, and in the playoffs, the C's swept Chicago, then avenged the loss to the Sixers in one of the most thrilling series ever, with 5 of 7 games decided on the final possession. And after they won Game 7 by 1 point, Boston faced the Houston Rockets in the NBA Finals. Bird didn't have a great shooting series, hitting just 42% of his shots and averaging 15 points per game. But he also averaged 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals, winning his first NBA championship in just his second season in the league.
The Boston Celtics have won the World Championship in 1981.
Cedric Maxwell was named the Finals MVP because he averaged more points than Larry, but there was no doubt who was the best player on the Celtics.
after we won the championship in '81, I feel like we had a good enough team where we could start a destiny and win a lot of championships.
In the next 2 years, Bird's numbers continued to rise, and he finished second in MVP voting in both seasons. In 1983, he was third in voting for Defensive Player of the Year, despite his reputation as a slow-footed, unathletic player. But even with the stellar play from Bird and the ascension of Kevin McHale, the Celtics regressed, losing to the Sixers in the '82 conference finals and getting swept by Milwaukee in '83. With a bitter taste of disappointment after that loss, Coach Fitch resigned and was replaced by K.C. Jones, an 8-time champion as a player from the Bill Russell era. And with the new coach, the addition of a great shooter in Danny Ainge and stellar defense from a veteran point guard Dennis Johnson, the Celtics were on the rise. In 1984, Bird averaged career highs in scoring and assists, with 24.2 points and 6.6 dimes per game, along with 10 rebounds. Larry also led the league in free throw percentage. He made the all-defense second team, and after finishing second in MVP voting for 3 consecutive years, Bird was finally named the league MVP.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that Larry Bird was making these defensive teams. All you know what I'm saying? All defensive teams. I didn't know he had that. That's crazy, bro. So Larry Bird used to be out there D'ing up. You know what I'm saying? He be out there D'ing up. Okay, Larry?
MVP. In the playoffs, Bird was playing the best basketball of his career, shooting over 50% in every playoff series, seamlessly dropping 30-point games and double-digit assists. After they got past Washington and New York, the Celtics dropped the Bucks in 5 games to avenge the loss from the previous season and make another NBA Finals against Bird's oldest foe, Magic Johnson.
Playing against Magic, yeah, that was something that I always dreamed about since he beat us in college.
In a hard-fought series, it took 7 games to decide a winner. And in the final game of the season, both teams struggled with their shot, including Larry and Magic.
I can remember we didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but we played hard. We got to all the loose balls. We did the things that was necessary for us to win.
But the Celtics were more poised down the stretch, winning 111-102 to secure another championship parade in Boston. And with 27 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals per game, Bird was named the Finals MVP. In the following season, Bird was again named League MVP, and the Celtics faced the Lakers in the Finals once more. But this time, it was Magic and the Lakers who came out on top, with Kareem winning the Finals MVP. For the '86 season, the Celtics traded Cedric Maxwell for Bill Walton, a former MVP center who was struggling to stay healthy. But the gamble paid off, and Walton shined in his role as a sixth man, as the Celtics played one of the best seasons in franchise history. They finished with 67 wins and 15 losses, and including the playoffs, they lost just 1 game in the Boston Garden, going 50-1 at home for the season. Larry was at his absolute basketball peak, averaging 26, 10, and 7, with 2 steals and near 50-40-90 shooting. During a long regular season, Larry would often get bored and had to find extra challenges to motivate himself. And before a game against Portland in February, Bird surprised his teammates and journalists by saying that he would play the whole game with his left hand. And despite barely touching the ball with his right, Larry finished with 47 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, including a game-tying shot in regulation and a game winner in overtime.
If I remember the game correctly, they were forcing me left to help. And they wasn't getting there quick enough, so I had shots around 5-6 foot with my left hand. I felt more comfortable with my left hand there than I did my right. Then once I got started making a few, I just kept going.
It was one of the greatest games of his career, on par with his career-high 60 points from the 1985 season against Atlanta. Larry was hitting jumpers left and right from impossible angles, getting into such a zone that the Hawks bench even jumped out of their chairs and cheered for him, which got them fined by their coach.
The announcer let me know every time I scored. So he'd go 48, 50, 52, and when it got to that with like 3 or 4 minutes to go, I thought I might as well go ahead and try to get 60, and that's what I did.
Then, in 1986, Bird received 73 out of 78 first-place votes for the MVP award, becoming just the 3rd player to win MVP 3 years in a row.
Only 2 other players won the regular season MVP award 3 consecutive times, as Bird did, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain.
And in the 1986 playoffs, the Celtics steamrolled through the East, sweeping Jordan and the Bulls, defeating Dominique and the Hawks in 5, and then swept the Bucks to reach their 3rd straight NBA Finals, this time against the Houston Rockets. And while the Houston's twin towers of Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon provided a bigger challenge for the Celtics, there was nobody who could stop Larry. With 24 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 9.5 assists, Larry was 2 rebounds and 3 assists shy from averaging a triple-double in the finals, winning another Finals MVP as the Celtics won the title in 6 games. In 1987, Bird became the first player to shoot 50-40-90 for the season, averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists per game. But while Larry was still on top, the Celtics regressed. Before the season, their number 2 overall pick, Len Bias, tragically passed away after the draft, and they suffered many injuries during the season and the playoffs.
I was the healthiest one on the roster. That's not saying much. I felt pretty good. I know Robert had ankle injuries, and Kevin broke his foot. Danny had a hip problem. And just to get to the finals, it made us feel good.
Still, they had Larry, who pushed the C's to their 4th consecutive finals after one of the most legendary moments of his career, when he stole the ball from Isaiah Thomas in Game 5 of the Eastern Finals.
And it was like in slow motion. It was like the ball like goes up in the air. I didn't even see him.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ,
And in the finals, once again, it was Boston versus LA for the 3rd time in 4 years. But this time, the Lakers were healthier and better rested, and the Celtics didn't have enough gas in the tank to stop the fast-paced showtime. Bird delivered another 24, 10, and 5 for the series, but it wasn't good enough, as Magic got the best of him once again. The next year, Bird had the best statistical season of his career. He averaged 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, again shooting 50, 40, 90 for the season, and proving that he was the best shooter who ever played at the time. Unfortunately for Larry and the Celtics, they lost in the conference finals against Detroit, and the 1988 season proved to be the last hurrah for the Celtics' big three of Bird, McHale, and Parrish in terms of contending for a title. Bird missed almost the entire 1989 season due to a persisting back injury and multiple surgeries to remove bone spurs from his ankles. He originally injured his back in the 85 offseason after deciding to build the driveway of his mother's home himself.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel.
He spent all day shoveling gravel and ended up hurting his back and causing his spine to get misaligned.
He had lost the structural stability in his spine, so it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in a door and somebody's still pushing on the door.
Bird was a millionaire, and he could have easily paid someone else to do it, but Larry enjoyed manual labor, and he wanted to help his mother with his own hands. And paying people for something he could do himself simply wasn't Larry's style. I really don't need anyone to build my ego. When I'm home in Boston, I want to go out and eat, pay my bill, and get the hell out. Back in French Lick, I don't have those problems, and that's why I go back there. It's the same with nice cars, Mercedes and all that. I can't see putting $50,000 or $60,000 into a car when our house growing up was worth $10,000. I just can't buy that. And clothes never did catch my eye. I never really enjoyed them. I always wore what I felt comfortable in. I'll wear pretty much anything if I get it for free. And because of his back injury, Larry probably should have retired in '88. But that memory of when he was 14 years old and his father went to work with a foot that was 50 shades of purple stuck with him, and Larry kept playing through the pain.
But to me, I was just so glad I got the NBA and made it. I didn't want some little injury messing up my whole season, so I tried to play through a lot of them.
From 1988 onward, Bird had to have his spine realigned before games just to be able to participate. The injury was so severe that he often had to lie down for hours at a time, either between games or sometimes even during games, spending up to 4 hours a day stretching. And even though he could barely walk, Larry still averaged 21, 9, and 7 in the last 3 seasons of his career. They called him Larry the Legend because of his dominance on the court, the extreme confidence he exuded, and the trash talking he served on a daily basis. Going into the locker room during the three-point shooting contest and asking other participants which one of you is going to come in second.
Everybody's looking at me and I go, who's coming in second? And nobody said a word.
And that's one thing I said too, man, about Larry. Just imagine if Larry wasn't getting injured. Just imagine that. Imagine Larry Bird with no injuries. Imagine Larry Bird never decided to fix that driveway. Bro, we talking about more accomplishments, more rings, a longer career. We will possibly be talking about a whole different story. His story is already legendary. Keep that in mind. His story is already legendary. With the problems that he had, the injuries. Now just imagine what his story would be with no injuries and a longer career. Probably something you probably can't even fathom. It'll be ridiculous. He's him.
I thought maybe they thought I was joking, but maybe they thought I was serious. But, well, then I had to go out and win it. But truthfully, I meant it. I mean, I knew I was probably going to win the contest.
And then defeating them without ever taking off his jacket, legendary. Telling players that he was going to get the ball, how many dribbles he was going to take, and then doing exactly that, sinking a jumper in their face, legendary.
Every time he was about to make a move, he told him what he was going to do. One dribble, pull up, going left, off glass.
And did you know Bird played the entirety of his career with a dislocated finger? His right index finger got badly hurt during his last season at Indiana State. But like always, Larry just pulled the finger, put it back in place, and kept playing through the pain. Bird had to slightly change his shooting stroke because of that finger, and he swears he was a better shooter in college than in the NBA. And the numbers support this theory, as he shot 53% in college compared to 49.6% in the pros. And despite his reputation of being a trash-talking jerk, as well as getting into a few fights on and off the court, people who know Larry will tell you that he was an even better person than he was a player. When the Celtics won the title in 1984, Bird approached Red Auerbach and said, "I'd like to buy a championship ring for Walter, an old equipment manager and sometime trainer who died in 1985. No other player ever thought of that," Auerbach said. And in a 1985 game against the Utah Jazz, when he was just one steal away from recording a quadruple-double, something that only Nate Thurmond had achieved up to that point, Larry instead chose to stay on the bench, saying that he already did enough damage.
Getting a quadruple-double meant nothing to me. I mean, really, you go into a game and when you're up by 25, 30 points, just for a steal, makes no sense to me. I've done enough damage already.
And that's the perfect example of the duality of Larry Bird. On one hand, he was an uber-confident SOB that would destroy your soul on the court, but he was also a modest country boy who used to pick up garbage in French Lick and felt it was immoral to buy a Mercedes.
Well, like I said, when I grew up, I never went away from French Lick, so this is all I really knew. It's not that I think this is the greatest town in the world, but it's my hometown. This is where my family and friends are, so it's important to me.
Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, we have a
Man, that was really interesting. Good video, man, of the man Larry Legend, man. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. If you love sports, this is the place for you. Make sure y'all smash that like button, man. I got more on the way, man. Best believe. Peace.